Welcome to Education in Focus. I'm Eliana Kernodle. As the legislative session in Texas wraps up, there's been a lot going on regarding education funding and education reforms. Joining me to dig into this is Dan McCaleb, the Chief Content Officer for Franklin News Foundation, publisher of the Center Square. Dan, can you tell us a little bit about some of the main things that they're doing with education in Texas?
Yeah, well, let me start with the latest, and that's this Texas legislature just this week passed the Texas Bill of Rights, the Texas Parent Bill of Rights, which essentially recognizes that parents are the primary educators of their children, not the schools, and it bars certain things such as including diversity, equity, and inclusion instruction in the classrooms. It bans schools helping students change their gender identity if they say they want to identify them. It requires schools to inform parents of any health-related issues that they're dealing with their students. It's wide-ranging types of things like that to recognize that, hey, parents are these children's they're sending them to our schools, but they have rights when it comes to their education, when it comes to any health care that's provided to them during the school day.
And was that passed like along party lines, I'm assuming?
Generally speaking, there was some crossover with it, but it was definitely filed by Republicans, supported majority by Republicans, and of course the Republicans have super majorities in both the House and the Senate. This Parents' Bill of Rights passed both the House and the Senate with large majorities, most of which were Republicans. I could talk about a couple more things that are in the Parents' Bill of Rights before we talk, as you mentioned up top, all kinds of things going on in education related in the Texas legislature this year. But the bill, it also requires school boards to adopt parental engagement policies and to hold school board meetings outside of normal workday hours. So if parents do have concerns, there's an open path to communication between them and their schools, their teachers, their principals, and also allows them to attend school board meetings that might generally be during the workday when they're at work and they can't attend. It also creates an appeals process for grievances from parents and sets up clear pathways of communication when there is a grievance, when a parent does have a grievance over a matter with their child in the school district.
And to get into some of the other things that they are looking at, they also passed something regarding the Bible in schools. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. Following Louisiana last year, which required schools to post the Ten Commandments and allow the teaching of the Bible. Schools. Texas did something similar, although it's not required. It just allows schools to allow kids to pray together if they want to, or solo, to bring the Bible to school when there's downtime, if they want to read that. Now, Louisiana's law, which was put into effect last year, was challenged in court, and it's tied up right now in legal proceedings. The thought is that probably there will be some groups that challenge Texas's law based on the separation of church and state, but Texas's isn't quite as strict as Louisiana's. It just says that it allows this type of content to happen, prayer to happen in schools. So we're expecting a legal challenge. We'll see if it follows the same path as Louisiana, which is really bogged down there. One of the most sweeping reforms that passed in Texas earlier in May is something that was at the top of the governor, Greg Abbott's priority list this year, and that was allowing for Texas's first ever school choice program. we've seen the debate about school choice across the country. Generally, it's Republican-led states that have led the initiative to get more school choice initiatives in their states, and it's Democrat-run states who have opposed this. But Texas has lagged far behind other red states when it comes to passing the school choice. As a matter of fact, this has been a legislative priority for Governor Abbott for a number of years, but Republicans in the House up until this year have been able to block school choice initiatives. They're largely from the Republicans who oppose the school choice initiatives were largely from very rural areas of Texas. Of course, Texas is a huge landmass state. You've got your metro areas like Houston and Dallas and Austin and San Antonio, but you have large acreages of land, miles of land that are in rural areas where the public school district might be the biggest employer in those areas. And Republicans in the House from those rural areas had been successful up until this year in blocking the school choice bills that were filed by others in the House and in the Senate. But Governor Abbott made it a point last year during election season, when all of these House Republicans were up in primaries, he went out and found candidates to run against these Republicans who had been blocking these school choice initiatives, and got them to win their primaries against these other Republicans, and then win their races in the general election. And these Republicans helped push Governor Abbott's really his prime legislative priority, getting education savings accounts passed in the state. And he did it, and he signed it into law at a formal ceremony surrounded by hundreds of families and children. Essentially what the school choice package does is it creates these education savings accounts, of which it was funded by $1 billion by the legislature, and it allows first priority are lower income families can take $10,000 in money that, in taxpayer dollars, and to do with it as they choose, including going to private schools. So there's 100,000 of these $10,000 grants that, beginning next school year, lower income families in the state will be able to use to send their child to the school of their choice.
You mentioned $1 billion for this program. That is one of a few different things that has really made the budget for education spending bigger than ever in Texas this year. What else is going on with the budget there?
Right. One of the arguments that Democrats and opponents of school choice bring to the argument is that it takes money away from public schools. Public schools are required to teach anyone within their boundaries, within their school district lines, all public students. And the concerns, it's been proven across the country that these current concerns aren't really valid. But the concern is raised is that, well, you're taking this $10,000 stipend or grant that you're giving to parents to send their kids to private school. That $10,000 gets funneled out of public schools then. And if it's $1 billion, it'll funnel $1 billion out of the public school system. But that's not the case. As part of this package of bills dealing with education in Texas, lawmakers also approved the largest spending increase in public school history. Teachers are getting significant raises. More money is going to be going into the classroom, and good for them. Good for Texas. They're running, while you're seeing many states now running deficits. Texas has a surplus in funding, and because of that surplus, they were able to fund schools to the tune of $9 billion next year without raising taxes.
Well, Dan, thank you for your insights on this story. You can follow this story and more at thecentersquare.com.